All right, welcome everyone. This is a Viper Professional Training Support webinar. Today's date is Saturday, August 11th, 2018. And the title of today's webinar, this morning's webinar, is Lightning Identified Swings. And as everyone knows that's been to our webinars or our live trading room, everything that we say and do at Viper Trading Systems is for educational purposes only. Futures trading, Forex trading, any kind of financial instrument trading involves risk. Therefore, there's always risk of loss. You should only trade discretionary capital, and that is money that you can afford to lose. Nothing said in this webinar, other webinars we might have, our trading room or anything else with Viper Trading Systems should never be construed as trading or investment advice. And as always, everyone does trade at their own sole discretion. Jack, I'll go over that too with looking to the left to trade the right. And that really depends on which trend you're looking at too. So let's just go ahead and get into the charts and I'll show you a few things, okay? Bear with me a second. Should be able to see the disclaimer go off. And we'll start with this chart right here. Okay, now the most important thing I think that you're going to figure out today is how important an identified swing actually is, because the fake outs happen when you don't get the identified swing. You know, you've got to actually have the identified swing to make sure that you're on the right track. Now, there are 4 identified swings on your chart. One of them doesn't make as much difference except for the overall trend, and that's just power meter 4. Okay, but your Lightning 3 makes a lot of difference on your trading. Okay, see how this was just kind of zigzagging around? But let's go through this right here, and we're going to talk about which one of these are identified swings. And I'm gonna give you the first one, and then I want y'all to catch the next one, okay? Now, an identified swing is super important that you don't know. For instance, if you start with a high here where my cursor's at, and you thrust down and you retrace, you don't know that's going to be an identified swing yet, because it could easily come down, back up, come down a little bit further, back up, come down, and never take this out and still make maybe a swing up in here that's still lower than this one, and then break it, and that would be an identified swing. Okay. In this case, though, you have a high, you have a low. You only know this is your lower high when it takes this out right here. And that's extremely important because, you know, right in here, you're going to see some things that are going to kind of open your eyes up, you know, to how to trade this. So let's go ahead and first off, let's put this one as an identified swing. Okay, that's an identified swing on a downtrend. I should have put that in red, shouldn't I? That's all right. Okay, but today's lesson is going to teach you, you know, not only what is an identified swing, how important they are to trading Viper, because we use these 4 range charts, and that they are identified swings on Lightning 1 through 4. And you want to watch the main 3 trends, which are Lightning 1 through 3. And you can also quickly know by watching identified swings when a trend actually changes too. Okay? Because this is really important, because, you know, what if you were short, and all of a sudden the trend changes? Well, you got to know when it changes. You know, remember when we missed that one on Russell on Friday afternoon, or Friday morning, but we still got the retrace? That's what I'm talking about. But actually, it did give, you noticed that the trend had changed. It just didn't pull back. Okay, and I'll show you how to see that in this webinar today. Everybody see so far, though, that is how you tell where an identified swing is? Now, let me show you something that's pretty important, too. You have what we call, just to give an example, here's a high here, okay, and here's a low, and here's a lower high. Now, technically, this is an identified swing, okay? So, again, this one is your identified swing. Again, notice how this barely takes this out over here with this little double bottom, you know, not quite a double bottom, 5 ticks. But guess what then you also have? You have like a secondary identified swing. Okay? Now, when I'm looking at trading, I'm watching this because, you know, when they barely take out these lows, they're liable to just come back up and test like a secondary swing. And you're going to see that time and time again also. Okay, we're not going to get too confused on this right now, though. Let me just put this back in here for right now. All right, so that's an identified swing. Now, on the other side, if you look at a low, a high, a higher low, and a higher high, that is truly an identified swing on the right. But it is not, an identified swing on the left side as far as the second one when you barely take out these lows. Okay, now I like these lows to be taken out by a good amount to really be these identified swings. 5 ticks doesn't really cut it to me because that's literally the size of a bar. A 4-range bar is literally about the size that was underneath that, and that's just a fake. Okay, everybody see that? So when I see this happen, I immediately say, well, my identified swing's here again. Everybody see why on that? Because what happens, and this happens in real time too, is that you've got your identified swing and it comes down. That's a good identified swing. See this 0, 0 to 81? That's 19 ticks underneath that swing. So that is a good identified swing. This one only being 5 ticks is not, in my opinion, a good identified swing. So when I see that, I say, okay, this is no longer my identified swing until they come with a lower high and then take it out. Okay, so I just simply look and say, okay, this is now my identified swing. Everybody see what I'm talking about here? Because if you think about it, there are a lot of times that you just barely get taken lower on a break. For instance, what if you were trading this overnight and you just happened to see this and you woke up this time of night and you said, well, I'm going to short this if this breaks this. And it did this and broke it and then went right back above resistance, which means you should get out, by the way, because you're going to get into this type of thing. But did it break this identified swing that was identified by at least 10 or more? And you can put that on anything you want. You can put it on 10 ticks. You can put it on 12. You can even put it on 15 if you want. It's mainly the fact that you want a good identified swing to stay not taken out, to stay in the trend. And our software will help you with this too, because I can tell you this, that with this that had gone on right here with the downtrend so far, that our mid-band would have changed to red. I know it would. I just have to look at the actual chart. And we do have the actual chart underneath here, so we will look at that. Okay. Everybody see, now keep in mind that if you saw something like this happen and you wanted to box this in down here or a break of here and try to get 5 ticks or so, yeah, you can do that because that is an identified swing when it breaks it. In other words, if you're, a scalpy type trader, could you actually take a break of that, because what does it take to make an identified swing? On a long, that is, it would take a higher low and a break of the swing. And that did get roughly, a few ticks, which is not too shabby of a trade. And you would even see that on the chart. That's probably a phantom more than likely. I just about bet you it is. Okay. But if you want to stay on the right side of the trend, trust the identified swing that is actually truly identified, not these that just barely break. Watch this. This kind of went up. Then you had a high, you had a low, you had a lower high, you had a lower low, but it's still not breaking here. This is when they finally identified these swings through here. See it? Right up in here, like an identified swing. And then when it broke this by, what is that, 18 ticks, this is your identified swing. Is this making sense to everybody? Let's see. Can you please, on which part, Nilesh, did you want it to explain again? Yeah, this is Lightning 3, by the way. Okay, that I'm looking at right now. This is Lightning 3. Okay, let me show you a little simpler chart that might make it a little bit easier for you. Okay, this one I just drew by hand, but it's realistic as far as it goes. Okay, this is Lightning 1, this is Lightning 2, and this is Lightning 3. And this one only has one identified swing. See it? You have a low, you have a high, you have a higher low, and it did finally break that high. So that's an identified swing. Everybody see that? Now let's look at the left-hand side of the chart. Low, high, higher low, higher high. Identified swing, right? Now notice this one came down almost to it, but it didn't actually quite get to it. So I would consider this or even this my identified swing until this is broken. This is barely broken here again, so I consider this to be my identified swing. And if it's really close to another one that's really close in ticks, I consider this still to be my identified swing. Okay? And that's important too, because you're not going to get just shaken out of a trade here and there if you really learn to see this. Okay? When did this one become the identified swing? When it breaks this swing, and you can see it clearly broke it by a lot of ticks. So that's a real identified swing again. So these are no longer your identified swing. This is. Then it pops up, pulls back, takes this out again by a good 10 ticks or more. That's an identified swing. So if you were trading this, you just simply put your stop here. Let's say that you got in somewhere down in here and you're just stair-stepping it up. And each time you get this identified swing, you put your stop in. Okay, and we have the tool on Object Trader that'll actually do that for you. Okay, now I watched Charles's webinar on Thursday night about mid-band trading, and I will talk about some of that also, and how to even avoid some fakes. Because, for instance, if you get into a good mid-band trade and you don't take out the previous swing by like X ticks, 10 or more, then I wouldn't be looking for another mid-band trade quite so quickly. It's the same principle. You've got to get to that point where you realize that an identified swing is extremely important. And if another one is just barely identified, which is what I call like partially identified, then it's not really your swing. And they'll take it out. Believe me, I watch it all the time. Let's see. Are the 3 lightnings set by specific ticks? Glenn, on your question, basically, I'll show you exactly what those are when we get to the actual chart. Okay. But so far, does everybody see, how I identified these swings on this one right here? Now, this is not an actual chart. This is just a paint shop, what do they call that? Paint in Windows. So I can't really, do like identified swing and then pop it in and all that. But I can show you with this cursor. Or we can even do it with the drawing tool right here. And I'll show you some of them. And we'll just do it like this. Come on. And we'll do it in like white. But does everybody see that, this is an identified swing after it takes this out? Okay. Notice this didn't take this out. So this only becomes an identified swing when this is taken out here by X ticks. And that only looks like maybe 4 or 5 ticks to me there. So then I consider this my identified swing until I finally rip it. And then this becomes my identified swing here when it finally rips that one by a good amount. Okay. And keep in mind when you're trading 4-range charts, this is pretty important. Okay. Because to give an example, here's like Lightning 1. Your identified swing is here when it takes it out by, X ticks. On Lightning 1, you're really only looking for the zigzag. Okay. Like that. Now, once it takes this out, here, you're not really stair-stepping down because your swing is down here. And see how they just barely wicked it? I drew that on purpose like this because this is what they do. They like to wick you out of trades. Okay? Identified swing, identified swing, identified swing, identified swing, identified swing, and identified swing. Secondary identified swing, the second one behind it. In the room on Friday when I was telling you that they won't take out the secondary swing if they're going to continue heading up, and remember what Russell did? It checked the secondary one and headed back up again. The reason for that is because they do this. They go A, B, and then C, and they'll go and check that swing right there. And then they'll go back to their run again. Okay? That's why that swing's really important there, that secondary swing. Secondary, and keep in mind, there's secondary on Lightning 1, 2, and 3. Okay, let me show you what I'm talking about here. I'm trying to make this, as simple as it can be, but also so that everybody will see exactly how this is done. All right. Notice how this is broken by a good 17 ticks. So that's an identified swing right there, isn't it? Wouldn't you say? That's definitely an identified swing. So where's your secondary identified swing? It's right here. So if they take out that swing, that secondary swing, you can count on the fact that they're breaking that trend back up. Now, what if they just barely break this one, though, and then head back down? That would be considered still an identified swing, but maybe just a deep retracement. You see what I mean? So I like to look at secondary swings, and I like to look at a good primary, especially if it's broken by quite a bit. Like over here, see, this wasn't broken by quite a bit. 81 to 76 is 5 ticks. That's not what I consider a good break. Okay? Below this line here was 76 all the way down to 58 a good break? Yes. Was this a good break from 58 to 41? Yes. Was this a good break from 41 to 31? Yes. Was this a good break from 31 all the way to 14? Yes. So see, those are good identified swings here, 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 here. And if you look over on this side, pretty much this was still your identified swing until they started breaking under here. Okay? Let's see, so how do you use the phantom trades based on these swings? Nilesh, I'll show you that today too, because those phantom trades, I am here to tell you, those work. I mean, those flat work. I know I watched Charles's webinar, and he pretty much said, well, it's a deep probe or a phantom or whatever you want to call it. And frankly, I actually disagree with that. Now, not to say anything against his teaching on that. It's just the fact that I'm trying to teach people what an exact true phantom trade is. And by going by the rules, I'll call it a phantom trade. It's not a deep bar probe. A deep bar probe does not go below the lines, and I'm going to show you that today too. Okay? All right. Does anybody have any questions on this so far? On here? Is this making sense to you? Let me get rid of some of this stuff that's on the screen here. We'll just go to another screen because I've got a clean one. All right, this is nice and clean right here, but it's exactly the same chart. Okay, so let's go ahead and we'll just go from here and we'll draw our identified swings. Must have gone over a little bit further. Yeah, over here. Here we go. There we go. All right, that's the same chart again, right? Okay, so now this is Lightning 3 that we're looking at right now. We also have Lightning 1, which is your Alt key, and you just simply draw it with your Alt key, okay? And this will draw from any place you go. I could draw it from here. I can draw it from anywhere I want it, right? Now, judging by Lightning 1, where's your identified swing? Now, this gets a little bit more into a lot of identified swings, right? So let's just start over here. We have a low, we have a high, we have a higher low, and we have a higher high. That's your identified swing. Okay? So if you drew a line on this chart, and that was your identified swing, and notice that it broke the identified swing, so yes, you could have shorted this little area here. Now, we've got mid-bands and things like that, so more than likely you could have shorted here, because on this side of the chart, you have a high, a low, lower high, not a lower low, lower high, lower low. So secondary identified swing, primary, okay, because it broke it. Low, high, lower low, by far, definitely an identified swing. Now, looking on this side of the chart, okay, you've got a low, high, lower low, not identified. See that? If you were looking at this in real time, that is not an identified swing yet, because it only broke it by maybe a tick. All right, so my identified swing right this very moment is way up here. Okay, now watch what happens though, and it actually breaks it. Then this does become your identified swing, and this becomes your secondary identified swing. Everybody see that? So it breaks it. Now, is this an uptrend yet? Is this an uptrend yet? Well, look at your Lightning 3, and you'll clearly see that it is absolutely not. Because where's your identified swing on Lightning 3? Right there. So let me ask you a question. If you were going to trade this, now let's say that this looks about like midband to me, and we're going to go to the actual chart in a minute, but I want everybody to see this on this easy of a chart before you see all the prices on here. Because if you don't see this yet, then you'll probably want to rewind this webinar over and over and over until you do. Okay? Because this is your true trend right here. Okay? This is absolutely the true trend. If this is going to head up, right this very moment, this is a good identified swing, right? 31 all the way down to 14. That's definitely a good identified swing. So if this was going to head up, this is going to have to break 50, go back and kiss it, even lower. You know, it can even go lower on the kiss as far as that goes, because you'll have to look at your identified swing over here too. And then a break, right? But until then, you're actually looking for shorts or boxing in. Okay, now right now, we're actually kind of heading up on our identified swing, but not very much. See how that's right there, right this very second? That does identify that swing and that swing right there. Okay, on the upside. See your high, your low, same high doesn't count. Higher low, higher high. Primary, secondary. Pardon me. It'd be the opposite. This would be more of a primary here. This is your secondary. Sorry about that. On the short side, it's the opposite. Lightning 3 will absolutely show you the trend. Absolutely will show you the trend. Even in chop, you can still see the trend with Lightning 3. Let's go to the actual chart. And we'll see what's going on. Bear with me a second. Now, did we diagnose this correctly? This is the exact same chart. This is not just drawing on black charts. This is actually that same exact identical chart with Lightning 3. Okay? That's exactly what we drew just a few minutes ago. It's just not on a blank chart. So if you're not sure, will Lightning 3 spell it out for us? Absolutely, it'll spell it out for you. Let's just go over some scenarios. What if this went up? Now, this is hypothetical, what I'm going to show you here. Right now, this is your identified swing, right? Now, could they hit a phantom and roll over? And the answer is yes. See that phantom right there? But if they break an identified swing on Lightning 3, they're more than likely going to head up. Okay? But what if this scenario happened? You get a thrust up from your thrust down. And let's say then that this did this. Let's say you boxed it. We don't know what it's going to do yet, right? So we would box it. And then what if it did this? Is this identified? Anybody? By what I just taught? And the answer is no. This is still your identified swing. Low, high, lower, low. Low, high, not a lower low, right? But what if it did this? Now is that your identified swing? Absolutely. Okay, but in real life, what we're seeing on the chart right now, your identified swing is right there. Right there. That's what you're looking at if this happens to do a trend change. Everybody see that? Okay. Also look to the left to trade the right. I like to also look and see, okay, how many thrusts have they done from the previous up move? And that was an up move. See there where they kind of started giving up the ghost. That was still 10 ticks though, so that's an identified swing. All right. And then they started stair stepping down. So you had leg 1, leg 2, leg 1, leg 2, leg 3, leg 4, leg 5, leg 6, leg 7, leg 8, leg 9. You know, this thing's getting really overdone, right? Now, one way that you can actually look at this even above Lightning 3 is these deeper retracements, okay? Like in other words, let's just pretend that this is the final high here. So we could draw it like this. We could say this is leg 1, this is leg 2, up into here, and then I would go all the way to here, and then up to here. I'm coming kind of below that, but it doesn't really matter. It's still going to have identified swings. All right, and then we'll go, instead of this, we'll go all the way down to this one. And the reason for that is because we're trying to get these retracements like this where they go deeper. This is a little bit larger trend this way. And then you can count your Elliots and see how many times has this actually done its thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so in other words, thrust down 1, 2, 3, 4. Once you start getting above 3, you need to really watch for very possible that they're going to change directions on you. Okay, now you don't know for sure that yet because guess what? You're still trading with your identified swing. Okay, I mean this thing could go up here. It could go even up to here and even wick this and still roll over. And you'd still be looking for shorts. But if it takes this out and comes back and kisses it, and we get like a green background, you can count on the fact you're going to change trends. And we know that by the identified swings themselves. Because the same way it stair steps down, it starts stair stepping back up. What if it did this? Say it came all the way up to here, and then came back and did something like this at midband. All right. Could we actually look to take something like that? We teach that trade, right? Because what are they trying to do? Well, once they're trying to tag these identified swings like this, they're more than likely going to take them out, especially if you get a higher low. Now, would we box this one in unbiased, team? No. I mean, could you box it in unbiased? Well, if you go by my rule of thumb, yes. But my rule of thumb is if you box this in and it goes against you at all, get out. Okay? Because, you know, you could have boxed this one in, you never got along. What if you would have boxed this one in, you got bipped in? See, because at the time, let's just pretend this wasn't a session end, but you boxed it here and guess what? They took you. Stay with the overall trend and that won't happen to you. Okay? Because the overall trend is just pretty well defined on your chart for you. Now, what if this was to go up, turn the background green and everything, and then pull back in the midband? Could that be a decent trade? And our software will catch it. Okay? Anybody have any questions on it thus far? Identified swings will make a world of difference in your trading. Keep it in mind, though, that there are 3 sets of identified swings, but the most important one is the real one that is telling you these thrusts and retraces, thrusts and retraces, thrusts and retraces. Not the little bitty, you know, where it barely breaks, you know, that type of thing. You're still going to trade with the trend. So to me, I'm going to have to break that to go against it. Let's fast forward this and see if anything happened at all. There you go. Broke. So where's your trade on this chart? Anybody? Draw your lines on your chart. You got one right there, identified swing. On the low end. Now this is your identified swing on the top end on the short, but this is identified, see, because it broke. All right, and you've got another swing right across there. So this is a sweet spot for this trade in this area right here, and more prominently right in this area right here, because our software is engineered pretty well. Okay, so we're looking for a trade to bounce in this little area right through here. Now, do we have an identified swing yet on the long side? And the answer is no, you don't. But you're actually looking at a trend change because our background went green, our midband went green, so we're looking for a pullback into this area here to mid-band. Okay, just like we would teach it in the room. All right. Now, notice that this one was pretty much just straight in your face type of a, basically it hit its bottom low right here and then it just took off like a bullet. Okay, can you catch this? Well, the answer is yes, but what if then you do this little box and they barely wick you in? If you're basically what I consider to be an aggressive trader and you put this on touch, let's say you had it boxed like that. Did that get you in right there? If you did a touch, yes, it did. So, but if you look to the left to trade the right, where would you have wanted to break on this to have ever gone up? Your identified swing. Everybody see that? So why would you have taken this long to begin with? Because your identified swing over here was still a high, a low, a lower high, and a lower low. To me, this would have to break this and break it and come back and kiss it. And is that exactly what it's doing over here? Yes, that is exactly what it's doing over here because it broke the identified swing. Notice our software catches it. Background turns green. You want to try it and see if we can get a trade on this? We'll put Object Trader on the chart. Maybe. All right, we'll do, let's see, I've got 5 on, but we'll just do no more than 3. All right, and let's see if this doesn't do just what we think it will do. And then tell me as this trade progresses. Now, when you get a green background like this and a green midband, what do we expect, team? What's the rule of thumb on moving trends, to give an example? Wouldn't you expect something like what we saw earlier, that you're going to get a thrust, you're going to get a retrace, you're going to get another thrust, you're going to get another retrace? Because guess what? Trends as a rule will at least do 1, 2, 3 thrusts. So this is thrust 1, retrace, thrust 2, retrace, thrust 3. Everybody see that? And if you get this thrust here and get your pullback, you can even tell where your next thrust is going to be very accurately. I can tell you that because I draw them on the charts all the time in the room. Okay, so you want to take this trade if we get it? Let's see if we can get it. Predictor says right here, I have a swing right across here. See it? Little micro. Now this is on the smaller side. Let me show you. Come on, draw. There we go. All right. High, low, higher, high. Higher, low, higher, high. Primary identified swing on the left. Secondary. It will not take out that secondary if it's going to head up. Let's see if it happens. That's secondary on the left. Now on the right, you have a high, you have a low, you have a lower high, and you're breaking your, so you've got an identified swing. They're trying to break the primary one over here, but not the secondary. Not yet anyway. Let's speed it up. Now what you want to do is you don't want to just take these trades willy-nilly, especially for instance, the secondary swing was not broken over here on the left. See your high, your low, your lower high, your lower low, primary, secondary swing. They just barely took it out, but that is telling me that they're trying. So, are we looking at a trend change? And the answer is yes for right now. Now, when we take this trade, what's the rule of thumb, everybody? You got to get below line 6, close to mid-band. Your best trade after a trend change is at or below mid-band. Anything different than that is usually a shallower retracement. Now, could you get ready to box this in here? Yes. That would change green. A little riskier trade. wait for the lightning to quit heading down, and then start stair-stepping back up, and that's your best trade. See there? See where lightning's kicking back up? We'll go ahead and, you want to take it? I'll take it. It's kind of coming back down a little bit, and you know, it bounced off a predictor. I'm pretty happy with that trade. It came down on top of this swing right there. See it? It came close to our mid-band. Now notice why I took that though was because I started getting that higher low. Okay? Now let me ask you a question real quick. Low, high, higher low, is this identified yet? Think quickly. No, absolutely it's not, is it? When will it be identified? Well, you have 69 taken out now by 2 ticks. Let's see if it takes it out further. If it takes it out, there you go. That's starting to identify for sure. There it's identified. See 69 to 79? That's an identified swing now. On the Lightning 3 side. Now, where's our Lightning identified swing on the smaller side? You have a low, high, higher low, higher high identified. High, low, higher high identified. Everybody see that? That's your identified swing. That's your secondary identified swing. It will not take out that secondary identified swing if we're going to continue heading up. Unless they decide to take it out and come and check midband. Let's see if my rule of thumb holds up. Primary, secondary. Let's fast forward this a little bit. This is a little slow. See, it held. Okay? Now, if you got up in the middle of the night and you were trading this right here, what would you want to see happen? Because I saw Charles teach it quite eloquently the other night, and you can clearly tell where the next trade is if you just simply watch for it. But you got to wait for it. Don't chase the thrust. Everybody knows that, right? You really just don't want to chase those thrusts. So, question for the team. Where would you think your next trade is on this chart? Got to think fairly quickly. There you go, near midband. All right, let's try midband then. We're still in 1, but let's look at our identified swings again, just real quick. We've got a high, a low. That's my primary. That's my secondary. Okay, so if I was to hold a stop at my secondary, it should not take me out, and I could probably more than likely even get in more contracts because I'm looking for a pullback under line 6, which it hasn't done. We want it to break stealth, which it hasn't done. We're still in our 1 runner. Okay, but what we want to do is, if at all possible, we want to add to this trade if we can. Let's see it. I'm going to speed this up. Hopefully I can get it in time. Primary swing. What do you think? Anybody? It's breaking. What do you think? See? Perfect. See that perfect entry right there? Now, if you hesitated, you just missed a good trade. But you see a lot of times where they'll give you a second chance. See that right there? Now, I'd probably, okay, we have a primary swing here, secondary swing here. We don't want to take this out if we're going to head up. Okay? Secondary swing, don't want to take it out. But I will take this trade if it bounces. We're not going to take 3, though. We'll take 2. I'm buying it. It just kissed support, so I'm buying it. I'll take a chance with it, and I'll put my stop right there. Exit on close. Okay, so my secondary swing should hold if we're going to head up. Let's see if I made a right decision. We got 3 in again. There we go. Okay, everybody see that? Now let's look at let's stop the chart for a minute. Let's look at this black chart just one more time, because I want to see. Let's say that you got up and it's not quite you're getting up time yet. This is like 6:30 in the morning. I'm not even always up at that time, but most times I am. So let's look at the little black chart here. Let's just pretend you're getting up first thing in the morning. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of lightning 1. And I'm going to get rid of any lines. And then we're going to diagnose this chart like we're just getting up. So let's see. Well, we had a downtrend, didn't we? We diagnosed it properly. We had an uptrend, and guess what it did? It thrust up, it pulled back right into support. See how it barely took it out? All right, so wouldn't you box it? Yes. All right, so now where are we at? We've got a swing here. Come on, draw. All right, we've got a swing here even, see it? Right over here on the left side. Everybody see that? And we cannot take out, and I'm going to change the color of this, because we cannot take this out or we're not going to be heading up any longer. So I'm going to put that in red. Now, I'm not saying you'd short it right away, but isn't that diagnosed properly now on that chart? Because if this was decided to break, this is my high, my low. We know that's my low because it took out this high by more than 10 ticks. So that's my identified swing. Is this swing identified yet? Anybody? No. Let's see if it's identified with even lightning 1. It is now, isn't it? See, because this is real-time stuff now. Now you have a high, you have a low, have a higher high. Was it 10 ticks higher there? I think so. 05, 96, 9 ticks. That's close enough. 9 ticks. So is that swing identified? The answer is yes. So we're not going to go down here now. And why would that be? Well, this is no longer my short area. This is my short area. Everybody see that? So if this was to decide to break this, then yes, we could be looking for shorts. Everybody sees that, right? Because see, my lightning 3 is not going to draw yet until I go from yellow to green, but I can still see it with my eyes. Okay, because this is, you could draw it in your, in your mind or even draw it on your chart. That's still lightning 3. It just hadn't drawn it yet. Okay, but that's still breaking that swing by a lot. Now, I consider this to be like my primary swing on lightning 3. Okay, and I consider this to be secondary. Everybody see that? Now, technically, on lightning 3, you have to go from green to yellow to green. Okay, that's blue, but that's actually green underneath there. Those numbers are just on top of each other. I can prove that, by the way. Let me just show you here real quick. Lightning 3 and 4. So lightning 3 is actually 6 tick offset, and lightning 4 is 6 tick offset. So I need to offset that one by like 8 and then draw it again. And we'll draw it again. Okay? Everybody see that now? See, you go from yellow to green, but we haven't gotten a green yet. But you can still, draw the line yourself in your mind, because this is going to be a swing, and for sure this one's going to be. You see what I'm getting at? So no matter what, if they break this area here, they're going to head down. But I'll bet you if they break this one, they'd head down. But until they do break this one, what are we looking for, team? Well, if we had any kind of a retrace, we're looking for, let me show you. Okay, if we had any kind of a retrace, we're looking for coming back on top of here, and we can't go any lower than here. Now, if we're going to continue getting higher lows and higher highs, we need to look back at our actual chart, and we're going to see a mid-band more than likely. So let's see where we're at. Okay, notice we're way up on our trade and everything. Okay, we've had leg 1, leg 2, leg 3, leg 4, leg 5, and what are we looking at, team? Anybody? Aren't we looking for a pullback? Now, Charles said the other day, and I think I even heard him say pinky swear, right? Don't buy the thrust. Now, if you do happen to buy the thrust, then realize that if it goes against you even a dime, I'd get the heck out of it. Okay? Let me show you what I'm talking about. Let's say that if you got up in the morning and you saw this happening right here and you said, well, you know, it bounced off line 6. I'm going to take a chance at that. Well, if you take a chance at it, then pretty much put it in the middle of that bar if it happens to go against you. You see what I mean? Let's see if it actually worked at all. That's buying a thrust, by the way. Let's see if it takes us out. Because I just about bet it does. If it doesn't, then hey, that's a good trade. But keep in mind, I'm only risking 3 ticks, 2 contracts. That's still $60 though. And that one actually is working. Okay? But as a rule, most times you don't want to buy a thrust. Now, what if you just got up at 6:30 though, and you said, you know what, this has already popped up. I'm going to just take a chance with it. And your chance worked, and I'd go ahead and probably close it. See there where it hit that double top? You might just go ahead and close it, and you made a few bucks. Then don't let it go against you after that, you know, very possibly, just in case. Maybe 1 tick. Because what is that? That's buying a thrust, and that's a dumb move in trading. Do they work sometimes? Absolutely, they work sometimes. Sometimes you'll kick yourself for not buying a thrust, but you know, you can't get in the habit of buying them, because I can promise you most times they'll kick you. Just when you buy the thrust is when they're going to sell it for retraces. They're going to take profits. But if you are going to buy the thrust, just like I said, you know, you want to, if you're going to buy it, just buy it on a bar close, and you know, if it goes your direction, then stick with it. If it doesn't, see, we're going to break even on that trade. It looks like 1 tick loss maybe. But what's your smartest trade? Watching your lightning and trading with the trend. Let's speed it up and see what it did. Almost got us. My gosh, that trade worked out. A thrust trade that worked. Very seldom they do. But I would probably already have protected myself right through here, or for sure here. And see, you really needed to up here, because that's now lightning down. So I'd probably at least want to save some of this trade. So we'll see. See what it did. Didn't quite get to predictor though, did it? It may not though. It may stop us. But again, is that a smart way to trade? Well, if you're going to do that, I'd highly recommend just scalping and not caring if the trade just goes like crazy. You know, if you buy it, it doesn't go against you, take 5 ticks. See there? I just basically flattened a trade is what I did. Okay, now what's this? Anybody? What do you think? That's a good trade area, isn't it? You want to take it? Let's go ahead and take it. Let's see. Let's diagnose it first, though. High, low, same high negates that. High, low, lower high, lower low. Okay, so this is my primary swing on this side. This is now my primary swing because it did close below it. See there? So that's my primary swing. And on this side, let's see, we have a low, high, higher, low, higher, high, higher, low, higher, high. Primary swing, secondary swing. So it should bounce right there. So I'm going to go ahead and buy it. And the reason I bought that is because it shouldn't take out that secondary swing if we're going to head up. Let's see. See if it did. By the way, does anybody remember that trade in the room on Friday? I called that trade right there. And did you see me just diagnose it again in real time? Remember Friday morning, this trade was called right at mid-band, and we got that nice monster trade. Now, what does everybody think about really watching identified swings on your charts? It's pretty important, isn't it? Okay? Also, keep in mind one other thing too. Anytime you get your first yellow bar probe, your next one's less likely, but if you get a good thrust up, then trust them. Okay, let me show you what I'm talking about here. I'm going to try to get the time to go over some of those things. We've only got like 10 minutes left, but I'll stay if y'all want me to a little bit longer. But let's look at this. Okay, see your yellow bar probe, thrust way up again, you can trust that one. Thrust way up again, you can trust that one. When it starts flattening out is when you want to stop trusting it. Okay, because you're going to get a phantom at some time. Okay, now on this particular chart that we're looking at, let's let it fly a little bit further, see what it actually did. Just real quick. We'll go ahead and get that out of the way. Everybody remember this on Friday? Pretty good trade. It kind of doubled. There's another chance to get in, by the way. And of course, you'd be moving your stops, obviously. Primary, secondary. Barely taking it out. Now that's your primary again. On a little bit larger. Now your primary on the smaller run is a little bit less than that. But see, you can look at those a little bit larger like that. There you go. Just got taken out. Now what trade are we looking for? Anybody? What trade are we looking for here? Anybody got to think quick. Mid-band trade, you want to try it for 10 ticks? I'll try it with you for 10 ticks. We'll only go if it goes back above mid-band. We'll do it as a sniper. Hopefully I can get it set in time. We'll set that as our sniper. We'll go long above, touch +2. And we'll do 10 ticks. Because keep in mind, this is thrust quite a bit already. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Will this be when they finally give up the ghost a little bit? Well, you can scalp it if you want. You could put a runner on it. You could obviously leave a runner on it. Could also be looking for a phantom. Matter of fact, did I call a phantom at this time on Friday morning? I did. And remember how we did it? Anybody? Look at lightning. I want to show you a trick that I used on that. I'm going to kill this. We don't care about the trades. I'm not trying to brag about the trades, but these trades work all in the room. But let's look at our basically what I like to look at, thrust retrace. See how it thrusts right on top of this? When I see this type of action like this right here, did you know they're going to check that again? Because what they do is they'll thrust up, they'll check it once. They haven't checked this swing when they did that. See there, thrust up, retrace, and then they checked that one, but they haven't checked that one. Everybody see that? They barely come down, and you've got to double again. See what I mean? So basically, when they come back like a high, low, lower high, and lower low, are we looking at shorts yet? No. No, we're not looking at shorts yet, are we? Why are we not looking at shorts? Anybody? Diagnose your charts. Is that a short chart? Absolutely not, right? But if you draw the areas where they should pull back, you're more than likely going to get your trade. Now, if this takes us out, guess what we'll be looking for? We'll be looking for a break above and a pullback to it because we're not thrust traders. It's already thrusting. We're waiting on a pullback. There's your pullback. Hadn't checked that swing twice. Would you buy this like a falling knife? No, and we don't advise that. But if you get between line 2 and line 1 and it's first time into phantom after a trend change, I'd probably just do that. And the reason that I would do that is because I've seen this trade 1,000 times and that phantom trade works. Okay? There's your little swing that it's identifying. But is this identified from here? No. See that? You have a high, low, lower high, lower low, but it's not taking it out by, what's our rule of thumb, 10 ticks? So let me ask a quick question. If anybody was going to look to short this chart, now I'm not saying scalping, I'm talking about by rules, wouldn't you be thinking only if it breaks this swing? See your highs over here, low and higher high, high, low, lower low, but barely lower. Is this actually a trend change yet? Remember, we called this trade on Friday. It was not a trend change. See there? Now I'm out of the trade, obviously, but look at that. Did that go ahead and go again? That's now 7, 8, 9. What do you think? Will it give up the ghost? When they do like that, I'd go for deeper retracements most time. And you can always take this. By the way, we just got another one. See it right there? Box it in. You could take that trade, couldn't you? Could you have boxed this right here? The answer is yes. Is it too late now? Yes. But if I hadn't had this going like 50 times, we could have gotten it. See if we can get another one. Looks like it's going sideways to me now. Okay, if this broke this, would this be a trend change? No. You have a high, you have a low, you have a lower high. What would we have to break this by to identify this swing up here? And what would it take to go short if we were going short? We would want to break this swing, turn the background red, come back and kiss, and then go down. If it was to break down, okay? Has it done that yet? Anybody? No. So could you buy support like that where I just drew that line? Yes. But keep in mind now you are going sideways. But look how those predictors will actually get you in some pretty decent trades if you draw your lines on your charts. Let's just fast forward this through the end of the day because we're almost out of time. I'm going to go over a few things for some people that asked questions earlier. Tell me if we got a trend change. I didn't even watch this the rest of the day, but let's just see if we get a trend change. It's going 500 times as fast as it'll go. Another phantom. Anybody? Are we changing trends yet? No. Come close. Coming close. No cigar yet. See there? Wouldn't you think our scripts would actually tell you when it changes? So let's look at this. We have a high, we have a low, we have a lower high, lower low, barely lower than that. Negates that swing. This one came down below this one, but not by 10 ticks even, did it? And phantom held, by the way. These are nothing but just little bounce areas. And you can take these little breaks like phantom, box in, maybe 10 ticks, phantom, box in, definitely 10 ticks. Or until they take out the swing. Let's say that you bought this down here and you got this move. Well, if you buy and then they don't take out this swing, then, you know, just start cutting down on your trades because this looks like this is doing this to me now. And I'm not sure exactly what it did by the end of the afternoon, but this may actually be it. I think that is it. Yeah, it is it. 3:40 in the afternoon. So what does everybody think about trading like this? And also keep in mind that if you want to, we've got a background that you can put on your charts even if you want to see this go from darker green, you know, lighter greens to darker greens. Because once it turns that darker green, you've got to really watch the trade because they're pretty much giving up the ghost. Let me just show you what I'm talking about. We'll take out background MTF and we'll turn on Lightning 3's background. Where's it at? There it is. Display background true. And you probably want to do that only on about 10 or 12 or something like that on your multiplier, because otherwise it's going to be really dark. Now that one's not really dark, is it? So that one actually came down. The reason it did is because it actually took out. So that's something you got to watch on that too, because see, this actually turned that pink, and then by the time it did that, it was pretty much had to start to count over. So let's see one other thing. Lightning 3. Could have sworn that opacity needed to be, let's even try 25. See what color that is. I've got it different on Ninja 8. Yeah, it's still about the same. See, because you had it here, you know, it had one leg, 2, 3, then it broke into pink, so then you had 1, and then it broke into pink again. So that's why you're not getting that. Now, if it heads up on Monday, there's your light. You get a darker, then a darker, then a darker. So you could turn it on that way. And by the way, you can also change this by actually putting your Lightning 3 with that rule of thumb that I told you about. And it might make the difference. Put it with close ticks. See, I've got close ticks of 0. Put it, say, for even like 15, and you might be surprised you won't even get those pink areas right there. Let's see if we do. That means it has to close. Yeah, there you go. See there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is this going to go 6? Maybe. This is getting pretty dark though. You can put it at 10. You can put it at 15. You know, I find that as a rule, you know, when they break these swings, they'll break them by 10 to 15 easily every time they do them. But it's up to you what you want to put that on. You know, I have a rule of thumb when I'm watching it with my eyeballs of 10 ticks. Let's see what 10 would look like. Let's put close trend of 10. Yeah, see, 10 didn't quite get it because you had one formed here and then 10 ticks. So, you know, just kind of play with what you think. I personally think that if they're going to break a swing, you know, when you get a pullback, you should get a good 30 tick run. Pull back, a good 30 tick run. Pull back again, a good 30 tick run. So when they break these swings to the left, that's going to be easily over 10 ticks. And you'd have to experiment with it to see what your particular instrument did the best. And, you know, kind of go from there. You don't want to get too outrageous because obviously, you know, and keep in mind that lightning is only drawing on this. And if you get a lot of bars forming, you're going to get lightning 3s all over the place still. You could draw lightning 3 and you'll see it. See lightning 3, high, low, lower, high. Basically same low, lower, high, lower, low, but not much lower. Lower, high, lower, low. You know, but still in the phantom areas, so you buy the phantoms and take them off. Could you have shorted this? Somebody's asking. I don't think I would have. And the reason for that is because you got this blue midband. And what would you do? You know, if you were looking at this, would you box this in? Would you think that was a short? I wouldn't. Would you think that was a short? Went back up, didn't it? So I personally would like to see this actually now. Looking at my swings, that's my primary on the left. So your high, your low, your high, your high. So I would want this to absolutely break this before I would be shorting it. Now, in a little bit, if this does take this out, this could be your new one. You know, if on Monday this takes this top out over here, this could be your new one. But like I say, our software will catch it pretty quick. Let me show you Russell on that one that Charles and I missed on Friday, and then answer a couple of more questions. And the reason we missed it also. Here's Russell. Anybody remember this move right here? This was just perfect. Remember, we got this monster trade here. This was called at the open of the room. I remember calling this one, even the pullback. Everybody remember that? But then you started getting this stuff right here. And technically you had a low, you had a high, you had a higher low, but you didn't know that literally until you took this out, or at least this out. See your low, high, higher low. This is where you would have looked at for a break, but it never even came back and kissed. See it? I mean, it just took off like a bullet. And we missed that one. And why did we miss it? Because it didn't fit the criteria of breaking out and pulling back. But you remember where we did get it? Right there. And we called it out live in the room too. So was it a big deal that you missed this one? It didn't fit the criteria. If it would have popped above this, pulled back and kissed, would we have taken it? Yes. But see, it never even went into line 6 or break stealth at all until up here. And that was still a great trade. Okay. Let's see. Go ahead. Anybody that had any questions, just real quick, on something else you wanted to see, and I'll be happy to show it. Do you go more by that what the power meter says concerning the lightning swings, or what you see with my? I go more on what I see with my eyes, Gary. And the reason for that is because, you know, like let's say for instance that you were trading this right in here at 9:30. Remember we called this trade? You had this trade here. Look at these predictors predict these trades. There's a phantom, we called it. There's really close to a phantom, we called it. Remember that in the room? Does anybody remember, let me think, what instrument did I say as we were leaving the room was going to hit another phantom? Anybody? We had a thrust up, pull back, thrust up, never checked that swing. And look what it actually did. Came down there and tested it and took off, tested it again, took off. Remember that in the room? Yeah, that phantom was called, and we didn't get it till after the room closed. Did some of y'all get that after the room closed? Would you have been thinking of going short just because it broke below mid-band here? No. Not at the time, because you had a low here, a high here. You had a higher low. Was our software telling you to get short yet? No. Was it here? Anybody? Why did it tell you here? You broke support. You pulled back and kissed. You changed backgrounds. You got our mid-band type trade, and you got that trade. I didn't take that trade personally, but I mean, that's a classic mid-band trade that we teach. Phantom trade. And then the end of the day, another mid-band trade. Phantom trade. 10 ticks. Be sure and watch that video that I've got on phantom trades if you want, because long mid-band, phantom trade, 10 ticks. Goes from short to long, phantom trade, 10 ticks. You don't have another one yet. But those trades will really pay out. Let's see, before you called that a thrust when you bought it, but to me I saw a small, tiny retrace. On which one was it, Lewis? Why is it that you don't have PM3 as your object type in OT? You can do that, Vin, if you want to. You want me to show you how to do that? Power meter 1 and 2 will be whatever you want them to be. If you were to change Lightning 2 into Lightning 3, that would be Lightning 3 instead of Lightning 2. All you'd have to do is change. The power meters simply, in the object trader, are looking at these two power meters for the trades. But if you wanted power meter 2 to be 3, all you'd have to do is just change this from 4 range, 2 strength to 15 strength instead, and it would do it. Because it's looking at lightning on there. Okay? And when you go into your strategy, you'll notice that your PM type trade, see power meter, it's simply looking at power meter only, which is, however you set the lightning 1 and 2. We could add a third one if you wanted to. It wouldn't be that big of a deal. But if you wanted to, you could do a lightning, say 2 here and a lightning 3 here, or a lightning 1 here and a lightning 3 here if you wanted to. Just simply change lightning 1 and 2 to whatever you want it to be, and it'll pull it up by that. Okay? Everybody keep in mind that our backgrounds and things like that are going to change to give you the good trades. In the meantime, if you're looking for trades, you get a mid-band trade, take it. If it goes back against you on lightning 1 against you, or mid-band again, get out. If it goes a phantom and you get 10 ticks, hey, that's great. Okay? If you get a mid-band, I don't know where this is going Monday, but that's definitely a good trade that we teach right there. You just box it in, however you want it. Some people just like it when it goes above mid-band and back under it. That's an aggressive trade. Can you go back to above on which one, Lewis? Nick, on your question, yeah, yellow bar is actually a little bit more on a sideways, but some people ask me to go over this real quick, and if everybody's got just a couple of minutes, I will. When you're looking at deep retracements on a short trend, you're looking for blue bars. When you're looking for deep retracements on a long trend, you're looking for red bars. Okay? Because that simply means that it's at that time it's deep on this midband being long, so you're looking for a long type trade because this had gone to this color here, and that is a true phantom trade, 10 ticks. But in the case of, where you're actually short, you're looking for the blue bars. And we used to have a rule of thumb on aggressive trade, just simply wait for the first blue bar, and the first blue bar that turns down, you take the trade. That's that bar right there. That's very aggressive, by the way. Works quite often. Okay. I like to actually get to line 2 on a phantom trade on a short, and of course line 6, and then line 2 on the long side. Now, somebody asked earlier about stealth. If you were to do stealth type trades, I don't recommend as much just using stealth trader, because there's, for instance, here's a red, here's a green. That one would have been a fake. That one would have been your good one. Some of our people use the second one. But what about this one? You had red, green, and you never got a second one. So that's a tough one to me. I'm really working on trying to get something done on stealth in Ninja 8. I'm going to make it to where you can change it on the fly. Let's see. Lewis said, my question when you said you were buying a thrust, but you said we should buy a thrust, and then you said, let's see what happens. Well, keep in mind, Lewis, if you buy any kind of a thrust, I bought a thrust on gold on Friday morning that was already up. I'll show you what it did. You can buy a thrust, but keep in mind that if a thrust is the end of the thrust, you want to get out quickly. Okay? Because I actually bought, let me think, I was up, yeah, it's right here at shotgunned. Let me see, gold on Friday. Pretty sure, when did I get up on Friday? No, that's too late. That was in the middle of the room. I'm pretty sure it was back in here, but I wasn't up. This might have been, yeah, this was probably after 6. It is after 6. So that's what it was. Right in through here. Whoop, what happened? Okay, on this one right here, I got up, and I'm pretty sure this had already kind of popped off of where I would have wanted it before I got the trade. And I pretty much chased it by going ahead and going in, like on that bar. And I put a really tight stop on it, and it happened to just go like crazy. It literally thrust up, and I was up like $600 in a matter of seconds. This happened right about 6:30ish, if I remember, 6:50. But see all those bars right there? And then what I did is I just simply hit the button and got out, because then it came down a little bit, right? Did a phantom, okay? Took off and almost tried to top out. But yeah, sometimes, if you get in your trading room and you see that it's already moved a little bit, then put your stop just under the little swing. You might lose on that trade because the optimum trade on this was right here at a predictor boxed in, and it barely came down and kissed it and then took off. And like I said, I didn't get in until it actually, if I remember right, it may have even been right here. I was pretty much chasing it because I thought, well, at least get here. And then it pretty much just did that. And it was quick. I don't remember exactly. It was on even a different computer. But I'm pretty sure that I missed the opportunity and I just decided to go ahead and chase it because I just, I'd seen it 1,000 times and I knew I wasn't going to let it go against me. Where does the predictor in OT get you in? Glenn, on your question, the predictor is designed like a region, and it actually basically draws a box. So if you had the predictor set, for this short, it would, let's say you had it set for touch +2, it would fire the trade 2 ticks before it got to that predictor if the bar popped back downward. It treats it as a region. Now, if you don't turn on the mid-band required trend, it could also fire along if it goes out the top of it. Okay, so you want to make sure you turn on the required trend. In other words, on a green predictor, it's only going to take the trade at the top of the predictor long, or white ones at the bottom of the predictor short. Okay. Let's see, when do you know a predictor has expired? Well, like, let's say, for instance, if you had done this one and you missed it, and this one didn't form till clear over here, it pretty much expires when you can draw a line right next to the predictor. If you were looking at this in real time, pretty much if that would have gone back up there, it would have never fired it because it was already expired. As long as they're actually drawable, and it's in the area of the predictor, it will fire it. How to use PM1 and 2 when identifying the swings. Just like I was saying this whole webinar, Vin, on your question, Lightning 1 is pretty much these little micro swings. Lightning 2 is a little bit larger, okay? And they still have primary swings and secondary swings. Primary swing, secondary swing, okay? Primary swing only because you don't have a secondary swing yet on this one, Lightning 3. Okay? Did I miss any questions at all? I know we ran about 18 minutes over, and I apologize for that. Did you say a break of Lightning 3 swings trading CL has extremely high probability of going 30 ticks, Paul? Well, to give an example, let's say that you were watching Lightning 3 and you had a low, you had a high, and it finally breaks this right across here. Is that a high probability trade? That's a breakout trade. Your trade's down in here because what is this also going to do? Well, you're going to get Lightning down on Lightning 2 or 1, and then you're going to start stair-stepping back up and you can box it. Just like any chart, you'll see that, for instance, like right here, to give an example, when did this start stair-stepping back up? Lightning. Well, basically, it started stair-stepping back up when it broke that. Put your stop there, and you didn't get taken out. When did it start stair-stepping here? Low, lower high, lower low. Low, high, higher low, higher high the moment it takes that swing out. And look to the left also, and you'd want to take probably that swing out. That's why I chased that trade on Friday pretty much, because I saw that it was trying to stair step. And just seeing this 1,000 times, I just knew that if they were going to break down, they were going to break the swing to the left, and they didn't, and then they took off. And that was a little bit more luck than skill, but it was because I had missed the trade already back over here because I wasn't up. Could you have not taken the mid-band. Well, keep in mind mid-band trades like even Charles was teaching the other night. Okay. I wish I could remember the exact chart he was teaching on. Does anybody remember? Because it was on the 9th, and I'm pretty sure it was oil. Let me just look at that just real quick. I'll stay if y'all want. It's up to y'all. We'll go back on the 9th. Actually, I don't have the 9th. I can put it on here. Just put it on real quick. Anything that'll help anybody to trade better, I'm more than happy to help you. It was on the 9th, wasn't it, on oil? So let's see. If you're looking at mid-band type trades, the one thing I would say about mid-band type trades that you've got to be really careful with, because I like deeper retracements myself. If I can get a deeper retracement, I'm a happy camper. But let's say, for instance, you were trading this. Matter of fact, this is, I think, one of the charts he was even showing the other day, because you had these 3 in a row right here even. You know, I mean, would you have boxed this to go long here, knowing that your identified swing was here and here even? Would you have gone long on that yet? No. You'd be looking for that short. Because if you drew lightning 3 on this chart, where would you go long on this chart? Well, you have a low, you have a high, you have a higher low, you have a higher high. So it is starting to stair step up. But where's your primary swing? It's right over here. So you draw it and you say, I'm not going to take a long until it takes this out and comes back and kisses it. Right? And look what happened. You just kept going short. That blue was not Phantom, so where do you take the trade on? Which one, Lesh? That was, this is Phantom right here. No, this is actually a deep bar probe. This is a true Phantom right here. The first blue, this one here, about 925. Let me look. You're talking about this one here, or this one here. Yeah, does everybody remember this on Thursday? This was Thursday. We actually called that trade right here on this particular one, because this was after oil inventory. And if I remember right, our boxes drew up in here to begin with. But we actually called that trade up here on oil after, I'm pretty sure that was inventory, wasn't it? But if you don't get to line 6 like this, you got to box them. And the key to it is, where do you box it? If you were looking at this trade right here, when did this actually start stair stepping back down? Well, you missed it, right? Because here it was right here. See, if you look to the left, trade the right. Let me see if I can get this. Now, that didn't really draw that very well. But see your candle up, candle down, candle up. That's still what I consider to be the box area, like that right there. So I would have shorted that. Did Lightning 1 even draw on that? No. But you can still see it with your eyes. And it also came back below midband too. It's another good sign that it was going to head down. Midband trades, to me, are some of the tougher ones. But if you stay with the trend and you only take them if they ratchet, just like the Phantom trades, you know, don't just keep taking them willy-nilly. You know, for instance, if you box this in, what'd they get? Like 7 ticks maybe? This was a whole lot better trade that went above midband. And you don't know that at the time, right? I mean, if you were looking at this in real time, you would see that you had a midband trade that worked. You know, these are shallower retracements, but they break line 2, right? That was a midband trade. Could you have shorted it? Yes. But keep in mind, you don't want to box it too much because you won't get much of a trade sometimes. So on that CL chart at 927, you shorted it. How come you would not have longed it? How did you know that the trade was a short? Oh, easy on that one, Lesh. Let me show you. then we're going to have to wrap pretty soon, guys and gals. But let me show you on that. We actually called this trade. Wasn't the 8th Wednesday? The 8th was Wednesday, right? This is oil inventory. You can tell it's oil inventory. See 9:30 in the morning? That's your oil inventory from here to here. You can't take a trade then if you're on any kind of a combine. Okay, and we wait for 9:31, 9:32 even. So let's see what you would have done with this trade. Let's just watch it. Primary swing, double bottom, swing. So this is primary. It broke it by not quite 10 ticks, 9 ticks. There's my primary swing right there. Pardon me, my secondary swing. There's my primary swing. Like so. So what did it do? It kissed it and rolled. See there? So you weren't looking for longs. What would have taken to look for longs? Anybody? We already talked about it for over an hour. Would have taken breaking up, pulling back, and taking off. It didn't do that. We called that trade right here in the room on Thursday and got that monster move down. Okay, you got that way? Always look at your Lightning 3 for absolutely sure. You got to be careful just looking only at these smaller swings, because these smaller swings are, you know, where you can get in the trade, okay? But you still got to stay on the right side of the trade. Look at that thing. It just dropped. Look at that. Another opportunity. When did this trend start? There's your swing right there. Well, if this will draw, right there's your swing. Now you have a low, high, higher, low, higher, high. So you basically have a swing here on this side of the chart. This side of the chart's here. So when did this start breaking up? Anybody? 1, 2, 3, pull back. You could have gotten in here. That's very risky. I would say when it breaks this swing here and comes back and kisses it, and it pretty much did it right through here, but that could have been a phantom even. So I'd probably wait for it to go green. I usually like to do that. You know, where your background goes green, and you can get these mid-band trades. Because they seem to work at least for these good scalps and everything. See there? And that's where you're at on Friday. Or pardon me, that was Wednesday. But see how that worked perfectly on just what I taught all morning? Green background comes back below line 6. You could have taken that trade there, got 10 ticks. There's your mid-band trade. You got at least 10 ticks. Here's another mid-band trade, you know, that you could easily box in when it started stair-stepping back up. When did it start stair-stepping back up? That higher low there broke that swing. You could get in right there. That'd basically be your box right across there. And when would you short this? High, low, higher, high by at least 10 ticks. This is your area that they'll have to break before they'll head down. Very simple. Not by that much, obviously, but you'd have to get a red background, break this area, and change trends. Okay? Dave, on your question, what we're going to do in the room is we're going to, just like we always do, we're going to call these trades. We're going to basically document them on our trade recaps. Everybody's going to be agreeing, obviously, that we called the trades. And we hit 100% on Thursday and Friday. I know we did because we had several people were quite amazed at that. Will we hit 100% every day? No, but we'll take that in consideration. Okay? But I can tell you this, if a person will learn to trade like I'm teaching right here and wait for the trade to come to them, you can't not make money. But you can't go about chasing trades when they're in chop sideways. You got to wait for the break and the pullback. Okay, let's see. You called that particular setup a thrust when you bought it. You said you shouldn't buy a thrust. Well, keep in mind, Lewis, I was saying you shouldn't buy a thrust, but you can buy a thrust. I'm saying you shouldn't, but you can buy anytime you want. Just don't let it go against you. You know, like for instance, if this was 6 o'clock in the morning, what if this decided not to come down to my mid-band? Could I take this trade if this bar closed up? Yeah. Would I be buying a thrust? Yeah. Where would I put my stop? Right underneath where I get in, because I'm not going to let them take me for a lot of money. You know, but what if this runs 100 ticks? Now I'm saying you shouldn't buy a thrust, but I'm also saying that if you want to buy a thrust, you can, if that makes sense. It just means that you don't want it to go against you. In other words, I'm not going to buy this thrust here and then put my stop under here. No way. Or even under here. No way. In other words, if this is going to pop above this support area, it's going to have to pop right away. If it popped up a bar, and then started pulling back, I'd probably kill it. Because to me, it would have to take out this top here and just keep on trucking, or I made a mistake. But you're going to walk into your room, in your trading room all the time, and you're going to see areas that, what if you do wait around and the trade doesn't even look back? So I'm just saying that be careful when you do a trade like that. You know, I don't totally agree that you don't buy a thrust because you don't know if it's through thrusting. But if it goes against you, you want to get out. It just costs $5 on a contract, or $3.35 on some. Okay, let's see. Anybody else needs to talk on anything, just give me a shout at the contact link, because we've run this an hour and 30 minutes, and I apologize. I don't normally run them that long. But I hope everybody got something out of this today. I think you will make a world of difference in your trading, because I can tell you by looking at that chart exactly where I'd want to go looking for a short, and I can tell you where I would look for the pullback to go long. At this very moment, if it was 6 o'clock in the morning, I might buy that if it pops up, but I'd really want it to pull back into this area that it hasn't tested yet, you know, right about mid-band. NT8 won't be ready still for just a little bit, Robert, and on Object Trader, it won't be ready for several months. The indicators will be ready pretty soon, but unfortunately our programmer had a little bit of a family type deal come up, and he's going to start again on getting them licensed tomorrow night. All right. Everybody have a great day, and anybody has any questions, I'll be here on the phone, okay? Thanks everyone for coming. Hope you enjoyed it.